Mother-in-law tried to kill my barely bilingual toddler and is blaming my career. I just want to go home. I'm new to Reddit. My friend told me this could be a good place to vent about the mess this last week has been. Trigger warning. Child endangerment. My son is 3.5. Both of his parents are native English speakers, but we live in an area with very limited English for my job. We have lived here for 7 years and we speak the local language much more often than English. It is my child's native language, and he is extremely articulate in it. His English is decent, but due to a language attachment difficulty we had when he was learning to talk, we switched from bilingual parenting to primarily speaking the local language and teaching English on the side. This is what works best for our family, and his English is actually beginning to be comparable to native English speakers his age. Along with barely being bilingual, my son also has a ridiculous orange allergy. I'm talking he walks by another kid at daycare eating an orange and he's on the ground choking on his closing airway. Mother-in-law has been made aware of this allergy. We didn't think it would be an issue because my mother-in-law basically eats nothing but tortilla chips and Captain Crunch. Apparently this assumption was wrong because mother-in-law has decided that clementines are the Christmas fruit. I'm not sure if you can see where I'm going with this, but let's just say that we didn't teach our barely bilingual toddler the names of all the different types of oranges to avoid. We didn't even know there was clementines in the house because she kept them in a blacked out fridge drawer until she was alone feeding my child breakfast. My husband was out with his brother and dad. I was folding laundry and mother-in-law was making pancakes with my son. The way the house is set up, I couldn't hear mother-in-law and my son talking. From what I understand, mother-in-law pulled out the clementines and offered one to my son. He told her that he can't eat oranges. She said, "No baby, this is a clementine, not an orange. It can't hurt you." Then my son, good boy that he is, said that he had to ask me. Mother-in-law told him that he couldn't go into my room. She promised that he could eat it and peeled it open for him. He was not at all comfortable eating it because he knows he has to avoid oranges, but it's an inhaled allergy, and he was right next to her when she opened it, and then she touched his face with her orange hands as he started freaking out. My son started screaming and calling for me, so I flew down the stairs and see my child gasping for air. I don't think his airways were actually closing this quickly. I think he just remembers the time it happened and freaked himself out enough to believe that his throat was swollen shut. But in the moment I thought my child was dying, which he definitely cold been. So I ask what happened, and mother-in-law says she doesn't know. I asked my child in his better language to get a faster answer, and he told me mother-in-law gave him an orange. I didn't have time to yell at her, so I just grabbed my child and ran up the stairs to his EpiPen, got him in the car, and called my husband on the way to the hospital. When we got to the hospital and got everything under control, my husband asked his mother what she was thinking, and she didn't deny doing it. She didn't say that she thought clementines were different from oranges. She didn't say she was testing his allergies. She said, "If does his job didn't make you keep my baby from me, maybe I wouldn't have to use such extreme measures to keep him here with me." What the hell? Did she think murdering my child would make husband and I stay with her? Did she really think that an allergic reaction would make us extend our stay with her? No. We'll be in a hotel for the rest of the stay. She's not safe. If she wanted my child to stay with her, killing him is a terrible way to make that happen. I don't even know what to do about this woman. Obviously we are not staying in her house, and we rarely speak to her anyway, so it's not like there's much contact to break once we get back home. I just don't know what to do. Is there even an acceptable punishment for attempting to kill my child? She also tried to blame my 3-year-old for listening to his grandmother and trusting that the food she promised wouldn't hurt him is safe to eat. Husband is fully on my side and is even more mad because he called her when we were in the hospital with a sick baby reacting to orange juice residue on my husband's hands. He told her what happened in real time. He cried and she comforted him, and then she turns around and does this. Mother-in-law jokingly threatened my 9-year-old because she was apparently misbehaving. Trigger warning. Violence against albinos. I have a daughter who has albinism. She is 9 years old. I let mother-in-law babysit her for 2 hours a few days ago while I ran some errands. When I came home, she was pretty quiet and mother-in-law left soon after that. She was off the entire day, didn't want to eat or play, and struggled through her homework. Normally she'd ask me for some help, but she didn't that day. I sit her down and asked her what's wrong. She immediately burst into tears and said Nan said I'm naughty, so she'll send me to South Africa, and that people there would eat me because I'm albino. I comfort her. She asks me if what Nan said was true, and I tell her honestly that it does happen sometimes, but those things are done by very bad people, and that most people wouldn't ever dream of doing something as horrible as that. That calmed her down a lot. If I hadn't told her truthfully, I'm sure she'd go on the internet and look it up herself and be bombarded with a bunch of links that will scare her even more. Hubby calls mother-in-law to ask her why she said that to her, and she plays it off. I didn't think she'd take it seriously, or it was just a joke, because she was misbehaving. Even if she was, you don't tell a 9-year-old an entire country wants to kill and eat her. How messed up do you have to be to do that? Husband and I haven't let her in the house or talked to her since. But God, is that woman infuriating. Edit. S. Alright. My mother-in-law said eaten. Yes. In my daughter's mind, that meant they are going to kill me and eat me. When she asked me if it was true, I said yes, that it happens sometimes but not all the time. Fact, people with albinism rarely do get killed in South Africa. The eating part is most likely untrue. If I say, no sweetheart, albinos don't get eaten in South Africa, it'll be, so people there don't kill albinos? Nan was just kidding. I'm not going to say to my 9-year-old they won't eat you there, but they may kill you. Because that is going to bring up questions of what will they do to me if they don't eat me? And why should I tell her even that much? Because if I chalk it up to a big old joke by grandma, she's going to look it up or talk to her friends about her funny grandma. And they are going to Google albinos in South Africa or something, which will traumatize all of them. I have nothing against South Africans, guys. I'm not going to go into you might not get eaten in South Africa, but there's a very small chance you might get killed. In her mind, to eat someone you must kill that person. If I take away the eating, why is she getting killed? She's 9. I'm not getting into her bones being used as good luck charms with her. Ended Mil's career after she ruined our lives. Context. I've posted a bit about my fiance's adoptive mother, Susan, in the last couple weeks, mostly on JustNoMIL, where I might cross-post this to later, but for anyone unfamiliar with Susan, she was my lecturer when I was at university. Susan hated that I was dating her adopted son, biological nephew, since she found out about us. When we first told her we were dating, she tried to kill me via allergy. Another story for another day. And after she found out I was pregnant, she stalked us, impersonated me, and broke into our flat. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. She made our lives hell, to the extent where we no longer felt safe in our own home, and my fiance and I had to move across the country to escape her. We've been living in our new place for a little under a week. The baby is due in a couple of months and everything is mostly ready. We've deactivated our social media, created new emails, and changed our numbers. Only a few friends and relatives from the town she lives in, which we left, have our new numbers. We had to leave our entire lives, and everyone we knew and loved behind, while I was 7 months pregnant, because we couldn't trust her around our baby. Revenge. On Monday, an email was sent from the dean to Susan's graduating students saying Susan was being considered for a promotion from lecturer to head of department, and they wanted to hear from her students first. The aim of this was to receive glowing recommendations to give to the board. This was not the result. As I changed my email, I hadn't seen this. One of my friends who had my new number and was on the course with me did see the email, and on Tuesday he gave my new number to the dean, saying that he would only give her the number in person, on paper, and only if she agreed to ring when she was alone and throw out the paper and erase it from the logs after. If she was calling from a university phone, then the number would go on the call logs that were accessible by all members of staff, but he assured her that this was something she'd want to hear before promoting Susan. So I got this call from the dean on Tuesday. She told me what was going on. My friend hadn't had time to get in touch before she rang, and she asked me why my friend thought I should speak to her. I told her everything. I started 2 years ago when I met Susan's son, the man who would become my fiance and the father of my child. I told her about Susan poisoning me via allergy after finding out about me and her son and the EpiPen incident. I told her about the outside of class harassment I received post-pregnancy announcement, impersonating me, crashing GP appointments, breaking in, etc. I told her about the in-class harassment, telling me to break up with my fiance, stopping lectures until I left, throwing out my food and drink, trying to reschedule exams, and more. I told her about the last time I saw Susan in person, when she tried to hit me while I was 7 months pregnant with her grandchild. I told her about having to move away. I was careful not to give a location or distance, and filing a restraining order to escape Susan. I thought the uni were made aware of the RO, but apparently not. Fiance then arrived home from work, and when I told him what was happening, he was all too eager to chime in with stuff I forgot, copying keys, punching the landlord, cancelling orders, going through our things. He also told the dean about the abuse he got from her growing up. We also gave the dean the names of people willing to support our story, as well as some dates, times, and locations of on-campus incidents. I'd made a note of a few of them, so she could pull CCTV from the campus security recordings. Fiance also told her the story of one of his cousins, Susan's BO kid, who got close with a guy on Susan's course, but the guy was told to break up with her by Susan with a thinly veiled threat against his academic career. We also told the dean about Susan telling me to break up with my fiance and vice versa, so she could better maintain professionalism. The dean was horrified. She had me and my fiance record a video where we said everything all over again, from the top. We made sure the video had nothing to identify a location, and we were assured Susan would never see it. We also sent her all the proof we had alongside it. This was all forwarded to the board on Wednesday and Thursday. She asked my friend for the number again and just called me for the second time, telling me that the board unanimously agreed this was grounds for Susan's dismissal. They said that, while the outside of uni events weren't really their business, they go towards her character, and the fact that as department head, she would represent the department, whether she was on the clock or not. They said even without this, the events that happened inside of uni alone, stopping lectures, telling me to dump my fiance, telling that other guy to leave her daughter alone, throwing out my stuff, seeking special treatment on grounds of nepotism, were all abuses of power and enough to justify Susan's dismissal. They asked me why I hadn't filed charges, and I said all I'd gain from filing charges is Susan staying away from me, and the RO, and moving away has the same effect. Plus as it's exam season, my tutor work is really taking off, and I don't have the time to go through a whole court case, and I'll have even less time once the baby arrives. The baby is due in about 8 weeks and Susan has already caused me enough stress. Tomorrow, in the meeting, where Susan is fully expecting to be told she got her promotion, the dean is now going to give her a week to hand in her resignation. If she refuses, she will be fired. If she does not hand in her resignation, she will be fired. She will not be getting a reference. The only reason she is being given the option to resign is that she has worked at this university for nearly a decade, but if she so much as raises her voice in the meeting tomorrow, she will be fired. Security will be present for the meeting, in case she tries anything. Meanwhile, the friends we left behind aren't hesitating to tell anyone who will listen all about what Susan did during the course of mine and my fiance's relationship. There's not a single soul left in that town who trusts her or will take her side if she tries to fight back, not even her husband, who told us that now all their kids are over 18, he will be initiating divorce proceedings. I don't feel even a little bit bad. I know there's a chance I went too far, but I didn't lie or embellish anything. I just gave the dean the facts as they are. Everything is 100% true, and while it was me who told the dean, I see this as Susan's actions having consequences. Susan has more than enough money to pay for herself for the foreseeable future. She owns her home. Her husband's name is not on the deed, and she bought it before they got married, so she will get the house in the divorce as it's not technically a shared asset or one acquired during their marriage. She will have a roof over her head and money in her bank account, and if she wanted to she could get another job. Just probably not one as a lecturer. Facts. What is Susan and fiance's relationship exactly? Biologically, they're aunt and nephew. Fiance's parents were in and out of his life a lot growing up, and when they were out of his life they'd leave him at Susan's place, and when he was 14 they left for good, at which point Susan said she'd adopted him. Fiance has never seen proof of this, but she refers to herself as his mother, and to him as her son. What is the EpiPen/poisoning accident? I'm severely allergic to peppercorn, as in salt and pepper, and shortly after Susan found out we were dating and asked us to break up, she then invited us to dinner to apologize. I offered to cook as I had my pepper allergy to work around, and she insisted on cooking. Fiance also reminded her of the pepper allergy, as did his uncle/her husband. She cooked pepper-crusted turkey. Susan insisted it was a palate issue and I needed to stop being fussy. I didn't eat it, but due to my proximity to a giant lump of cracked and cooked pepper combined with the severity of my allergy, I was sat at the table with the turkey right in front of me. I wound up inhaling enough that I began to violently cough and felt lightheaded. Fiance went to get me water while I went for my EpiPen. I couldn't open it, and Susan took it off me. I pointed to where she should administer it, and instead of doing that she asked me if I was sure about not breaking up with fiance. Uncle arrived, saw what was happening, called fiance into the room, and between them, they got my EpiPen, administered it, and drove me to R&D. To this day, Susan insists that no one is allergic to pepper. I'm just fussy, and even though I should have pressed charges at the time, not only was she still my lecturer, but law enforcement says that being stupid isn't a crime. What the hell is going on with the faculty? At my uni there are visiting, part-time, lecturers, referred to as junior lecturers. Then there's full-time lecturers who are referred to as senior lecturers. Then there's the head of department. This is not a rotating position. Each position comes with a pay bump, and the head of department runs the compulsory module each year. The head of department, once appointed, is the head of department until they resign, are fired or retire. Why was the dean so transparent? From what the dean told us, it's a health and safety issue as well as a legal one. Susan has proved to us that she's a threat to our safety and well-being. We proved that to the dean with testimony and evidence, and now if the dean gets rid of Susan, Susan could go after us. The dean needs to keep us in the loop in case this happens so the uni isn't liable in case Susan comes after us. How was this all done so quickly? I think they wanted it sorted quickly and quietly. They need to announce the new head of department soon, and they had a few options, but Susan was the front runner. The email I didn't see sounds like it extended to all candidates, so if former students had any thoughts on the other two options they were free to email about them too. But when my friend saw that Susan was an option, he took matters into his own hands as he knew about everything she'd done. I will admit to guessing and filling in the blanks here, and with the other uni stuff, but the dean didn't explain everything to us, so a lot of stuff me and fiance are trying to fill in the gaps between us. Why no police? The same reasons we listed above. Between the baby, the move, and the new job, we have no free time. We think that the RO and moving will be enough to keep her away, but if she comes near us again we've agreed to contact the police and see through the court case, but with all the crap going on we don't have time. We were also told when we were first asked about court that if she fought us, a lawyer would have the right to cross-examine us, and for that to happen we would need to be in the courtroom. Whether this happens before or after the baby is born, we don't want to even be in the same town as her right now, let alone in the same courtroom. Regardless of security, we wouldn't feel safe. Won't Susan blame you for all this? She'd blame us for this, even if we had nothing to do with it. We are preparing as if she's going to knock on our front door any second and ask where we went, and because of this, we have no less than 4 separate backup plans in case something does happen. When I said she had money to support herself, she does, but she doesn't have PI money or money to travel all over the place searching for us. Any therapy. Fiance is in therapy because of her RN. Tried to get her in therapy, but she didn't want to. She went for 1 session with my fiance as a mother-son thing, and never again. What's the security situation at your new place? We have and are in the process of installing one of those doorbells with video feed and CCTV. We replaced the short screws in the doors with longer ones. Our place has a high metal fence with a locked metal gate on the front, and we're looking into if it's possible to fit a keypad or something similar, so we'd have a code on it. Our new hospital has had some issues with the maternity ward in the last couple years, so they up security in a big way, and now all visitors have to wear passes and sign in with photo ID, and they have a system where once the person signing inputs in their name, they type it into a computer, and the computer will alert them if this person is banned, like Susan is, and in that case she will not get her visitor pass, and therefore not be able to access the ward. Can't she track you via social media? We've erased everything from our social media, deactivated our accounts, never mentioned anything about the place we moved to online or viral. Fiance works in it, and he's in the process of erasing all our accounts. What about this Reddit account? It's a throwaway account being updated from my old phone via mobile data. I have my new phone and number now. It's how my friend contacted me, but the old phone is still in service. So I'm updating via that, and once I'm done with this whole saga, this account is also going to be gone for good. Final update. The dean said the firing was happening last week. She said that if Susan didn't present as a danger to us to her, if Susan lost her cool and yelled something like this is all her fault, then the dean couldn't break confidentiality, and as we've not heard from her, since we can only assume that she took it well, or as well as possible. We've read your comments / replied, and we have talked and done some thinking, and we've agreed to look into legal options. We are still not totally sure about pursuing a court case, but we realize that Susan isn't just going to let this go, and she won't be willing to just leave us alone. We also weren't informed that the RO would have our address, and my fiance was also hesitant, because despite her actions, Susan did, for the most part, raise him. We looked into it, and it doesn't look like she actually adopted him, so that's something. We are gathering all the evidence we have against her, plus anything the dean, landlord, or anyone else still has, and we are meeting a lawyer later this week as we agree that our personal safety and the safety of our child should come first.